Welcome to Replenish the Atmosphere of Discovery, where we discover the Master's plan for our lives. Today's session is on commitment. To commit to something or someone means to make yourself obligated to it, right? To be committed to a thing means you make it your desire to see it through to completion. So think of all of the promises and the commitments and agreements that you've made just in the past week. How many of those commitments have you kept? How many of them were to yourself? How many of those commitments were for you? And how many of the commitments that you made for yourself were beneficial to you? How committed are you to you? That's the question I have. How committed are you to you? So I know you probably thought, okay, we're going to just talk about the things that I don't do. No, I want to know how committed you are to yourself. So we kind of train ourselves, and even the world around us influences us to train ourselves to commit to everything and everybody else except for ourselves, right? And when we do make commitments to ourselves, a lot of times it's not the commitments that are beneficial to us. We make commitments like, I'm going to really, really work hard, right? But I'm working hard for less pay. We make commitments like, I'm going to make sure that this person knows that, that I love them, to the detriment of ourselves. We make commitments like, I'm going to eat whatever I want, however many times I want. That's the type of commitment that we make. We make commitments like, I'm going to be what everybody else want me to be, right? I'm going to be loved by everybody. These are the type of commitments that we make to ourselves that are not beneficial to us. Some of them sound nice, some of them sound disturbing, right? But these are the things that we obligate ourselves to. And we have to start seeing the full picture and stop living for these moments of instant gratification without knowing the repercussions. What are the repercussions if I be what everybody else wants me to be? If that's what I'm committed to, what will happen when I do that, right? Being a people pleaser is not beneficial to you. Being nice to people, being generous to people, that's beneficial, right? But being a people pleaser is not beneficial to you. And there is a difference, okay? And so we often deal with burnout and or procrastination because we place the value of our life, of our well-being at the bottom of everything and everybody else, right? But guess what? God puts you first, right? And God put you first so much so that he created this earth for you, right? For you to subdue, for you to benefit from, right? And we're allowing this earth to kill us. And this earth is everything in it, any person, place, or thing that is in this earth. And it might not be killing you physically at first, but we all know that it starts by killing you mentally, killing you emotionally, right? Killing you spiritually before it even affects your physical body. And so I'm not telling you to commit to yourself because you're better than others, which you might do things better than other people, but you're no better than another human being, right? Let's get that clear. I'm not saying to commit to yourself because you're better than others. I'm saying to commit to yourself because you are equal to others, okay? Commit to yourself because you are equal to others. The same commitment that you have for other people, for other people's ideas, right? For all of the other things, you have to start to have for yourself. The same effort you put in for everybody and everything else, the same time, the same motivation you have for everything else, have that for yourself. Okay? So commitment has a structure. And in order to benefit from it, right, you must apply the principle to every area of your life, right? The first principle, your commitment to God. That includes his commandments. That includes his standard, right? Which involves how you are to treat other people, right? So the first principle is your commitment to God, which includes his covenants, his commandments, his standards, which includes how he sees you, the value that God placed on you, right? That's number one. The second principle is commitment to yourself, right? Based on God's version of you, okay? Commitment to your wholeness, to your peace, to your perfection, okay? So when you apply these two principles, you impact the kingdom, you impact the community, you impact the world, right? When you make the commitment to be the best version of yourself, you become a benefit not only to yourself, but to everybody around you that intends to grow and evolve. Your desire to first submit and then commit to God means that you're willing to take the risk of disappointing others. Everybody's not going to like you, right? You're not going to be everybody's favorite. So making that a commitment to for everybody to love you, that's not going to benefit you. But you loving everybody according to your commitment that you made to God's commandment will benefit you, right? Because when you love people, even when they don't love you, you won't go against your boundaries and your morals to get them to love you, right? Because they love you with conditions and you don't, or at least you shouldn't, right? We shouldn't have conditions that we love people with. And people that love with conditions will always have a condition not to love you. People who love with conditions will always have a condition to not love you, okay? Meaning you will never satisfy them. As long as you keep doing things to earn their respect, to earn their affection, their love or interest, it keeps you committed to them while they disrespect, hate, and stay uninterested in you. You will never earn what you seek from them because you forgot the first principle, right? Commit to God first, not this person. Okay. And when you commit to God first, the way you should treat people and yourself is included in that standard. Okay. And God's standard is he won't have anything above him, including the people that you're trying to please, including the people that you're trying to love. And you're putting more effort in loving than the effort you're putting in for God to love you. Okay. When you dishonor yourself to please someone else, you dishonor God, right? And you put your desire for their affection above your desire for God's affection, right? So, how do you think God feels about you? Do you know how committed he is to you? We know how committed he was to us, or he is to us, right? But we commit to everything and everybody else first, and that is the wrong order. We commit to God first, and that includes all of his commandments, all of his statutes, and his standard for us. And his standard for us is whatever he thinks about us. So if we think we're not valuable, God finds value in us, we're not committing to God first. Does that make sense? Okay. So how do you show your commitment to yourself? How do you show your commitment to other people? Is it equal? Is it equal? Think about that. And even with the people in your immediate circle, have you discussed how you each show commitment to each other? And due to people having different experiences, right? Commitment can look different to each person, which has been the cause of many misunderstandings and many fallouts, right? Because commitment to me looks this way, because that's what I was shown, that's what I believe. But commitment to someone else looks a total different way. And a lot of people even get married, right? Without even knowing what commitment looks like to the other person, right? We're just interested in the wedding and the dress and the reception and all that. And we're not thinking about the values and the morals of the other person. What does that look like, right? Knowing each person's perspective on commitment is also how you can choose who remains in that circle, right? If you find someone that has these commitment issues to you, right? That's your choice if you keep them in your circle, knowing the commitment issues that they have. And if they're not willing to change it, okay, then if you leave them in your circle, you know there's going to be misunderstandings. You know there's going to be fallouts, right? And what seems to be universal is that There's an expectation of loyalty to those that you are committed to and to those that are committed to you. Okay. With commitment, there's an expectation of loyalty on both sides, right? But you have to know what their perspective is on commitment. You have to know how they show commitment, right? There must be a willingness to make that agreement to meet that expectation. You must be willing to meet that expectation of loyalty. To be committed to a person, an idea, or goal means that your loyalty is included in that agreement, right? Whether the commitment is large or small, show up and honor every one of those commitments. Consistently manage your commitments. Okay. Don't make commitments that you can't keep, and don't make them based on what your feelings say, right? People and experiences can manipulate your feelings, and your feelings change because they're temporary. Making a commitment keeps you focused on completion in spite of what you feel, right? It will keep you consistent. All right. So you don't make commitments based off of feelings, because feelings change. People can manipulate your feelings. You can manipulate your own feelings. You can convince yourself you feel something that you really, all of these things. So you don't make them based off feelings, right? That's why you have to constantly manage what you are committing yourself to. You need to be committed in marriage, right? You have to be committed in your friendships, in your relationships with your siblings and your family members, your co-workers. You have to be committed as a parent. You got to be committed in your community, with your faith, with your goals, with your purpose. You have to make a commitment in all of these areas. There is an expectation of loyalty in every commitment you make, right? And that expectation is met when you complete the commitment, right? Which are all small commitments that make up a larger one, right? In a marriage, you make a commitment to love, to honor, to cherish, to obey, right? You do this in small ways by making those small commitments daily, so that over the longevity of that marriage, the expectation is fulfilled, right? If you're not completing those small commitments daily, you're not going to have a long marriage, right? And if you do have a long marriage, it won't be a happy one, right? You're just in it to be in it, because you made a vow and you can't go back on your vow, right? The same way in friendships, with your children, in your faith. It's the small commitments that you honor, that you complete, that make up the bigger one, right? In your faith, you have to step out in faith to fulfill the expectation you have for your faith, right? And it is fulfilled when you stay committed to what you believe. Okay, parents, you don't cook for your children just one day and then you let them go hungry the next few days, right? These are smaller commitments that must be honored to maintain the larger one. Okay, so most beneficial commitments require change. Most beneficial commitments require change. And this is where most people stop and never move forward, right? Remember, I said that there's smaller commitments that brings about the fulfillment of the larger ones. So if you're not willing to commit to the small things, right? If you stop because you have to change your perspective, if you stop because you have to change your toxic emotions, if you stop and because you putting fear in the driver's seat, if you stop because you're making excuses, you will continue to create lies that make you feel like you're achieving something that you're not, right? This goes for everything, every area, from a happy marriage to a great friendship to being a follower of Jesus Christ. You can think you're a great Christian, but you fail at the small daily commitments, right? To not lie, to forgive everybody, right? You will lie to yourself about having a best friend that never supports you, right? You will lie to yourself about being a good parent while teaching your children to behave in a toxic way, right? All because you won't change. Most beneficial commitments require change, and you have to honor the smaller commitments that causes you to fulfill the larger ones. Okay. Commitment also requires honesty with yourself about where you stand in that agreement, right? Where are you in the commitments that you've already made? How many are you truly working on fulfilling? Are you only fulfilling the commitments that cause sabotage? Are you even attempting the commitments that you have to change for? Right? We often think that irresponsible people can't stick with anything long enough to make a commitment, but irresponsible people make commitments, right? But they're loyal to sabotage. They just keep making the commitment and the agreement to fail over and over. Okay. Being in fear, being in doubt causes you to agree that your lack of being able to control the outcome means that you are no longer responsible for managing your thoughts about it, right? And because you won't take control of those fearful and doubtful thoughts, that causes you to hand over your responsibility, right? Because you first have to throw away your ability to manage these thoughts when you agree with not controlling them, right? If you're not going to control something, you're being irresponsible. You're throwing away your responsibility to control that thought, and you're giving it over to whatever it is that you have now put in the driver's seat. So you have to be committed enough to go through those unknown parts of the journey. Okay. And that takes care of your fear issues. Once you decide in your mind, I've committed to this, whether I'm afraid or not, I'm going to do it. Whether I know everything or not, I'm going to do it. Right. And this takes courage. This takes focus. This takes faith, right? To remain committed without having all of your questions answered. Okay. Issues with avoidance, issues with anxiety and accountability will constantly cause you to break commitments, not only with others, but commitments to yourself, even if they're beneficial to you, right? You say, I'm going to exercise for 10 minutes every day. Anxiety comes in, you won't do it, right? You have to become motivated to commit to yourself. Break those commitments to people and ideas and perspectives that are sabotaging you, okay? That are causing you not to value yourself the way that your creator values you, okay? We have to see ourselves the way that God sees us, right? You are responsible for what you commit to. You are responsible for what you commit to. If you are loyal and committed to God first and then yourself, you will be loyal and committed to the right people. You will have the right goals that you are committed to, right? And then you will have the right perspectives that you are committed to. A lot of us are committed to these perspectives, and they're not even perspectives, they're strongholds, right? You are committed to the thing that's imprisoning you, right? You are committed to the thing that is sabotaging you. And you have to break those commitments and begin first by being committed to God, right? And then being committed to yourself. So I want to ask you, are you only fulfilling those commitments that are sabotaging you? Are you only committed to everybody else's plan and not God's plan? Okay. Are you attempting the ones that you already know you have to change for? You commit to those things, should commit to those things that are beneficial to you. And if they're beneficial to you and you fulfill them, then it don't just benefit you. It benefits the kingdom, it benefits your community, it benefits your children, your friends, everybody around you for generations to come, right? This sabotage behavior where you place everybody else's value above your own, you're calling God a liar, right? Because he places you as his son or daughter. Okay. So you have to be committed to his version of you, not the version, the hurt version, right? We committed to the hurt version, but we're praying for deliverance. It's not going to work. Okay. We're committed to the victim version, but we're praying for prosperity. That's not going to work. You have to be committed to God's version of you. Okay. And then you have to walk that out by faith. You have to be committed to doing it by faith, right? Hopefully, you all will spend this weekend working on your commitment issues. It begins with you, it begins with what you are committed to first, and nobody and nothing else should be in the first position, right? You should be committed to God, His standard first, right? And that causes you to treat people right, to love everybody, and all of that. And then be committed to yourself as He created you, right? So you're committed to your call, you're committed to your purpose, you're committed to who God wants you to be. All righty. So y'all have a blessed weekend, and I will see you all next Friday at 3 o'clock. God bless.